All right, welcome to the Butler Township Board of Trustees, Tuesday, May 24th, 2022 meeting. Thank you all for coming tonight. Will you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our next item of business is an oath of office for new patrol officer Cottingham. Chief Porter.
Thank you. I'm going to introduce Chad here and just let you know that Chad joined us March the 24th, and he's currently assigned to the field training at this point. Chad comes to us from Perry Township originally, where he was an FTO and evidence custodian and an OVI task force representative there. From 2010 to 2018, he worked part-time and full-time there. And then he moved on to the University of Dayton from 2018 to 2022 as a full-time patrol officer with the University of Dayton. Like I said, he's currently with us, and he's currently assigned in the field training division, and we're going to go ahead and give him his ceremonial oath of office tonight. Chad, raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
Chad Cottingham.
Do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States of America,
and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
and laws and resolutions of Butler Township,
and laws and regulations of Butler Township,
and to the best of my ability
and to the best of my ability,
will discharge the duties of police officer
will discharge the duties of police officer
for Butler Township, Montgomery County, Ohio.
for Butler Township, Montgomery County, Ohio.
Congratulations.
Would you like to take some pictures?
Trustees, yes.
You're fine.
There we go, for that. You can do that. you all want to leave? No one wants to stay? All right. Our next item of business is approval of the minutes. The regular meeting minutes of April 26, 2022, and the workshop meeting minutes of May 10th, 2022. Is there any discussion?
No discussion on my end.
Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve regular meeting minutes of April 26, 2022. Can we approve both at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll also make a motion to approve workshop meeting minutes of May 10th, 2022.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, so the next item is our public hearing regarding zoning case 2-21, Yorkshire Reserve, Section 3, Final Development Plan, and PD-1, Plan Development Modification, per Article 19 of the Butler Township Zoning Resolution. All right. So I will open the public hearing. Staff, do you have any comments?
Yes, I'll just give you kind of a summary of this case. The zoning classification for this property is PD1, Planned Residential Development. It was originally approved in 2003 and consisted of 34 lots. The applicant has met with the Zoning Commission several times in several public hearings, and throughout that process has addressed many concerns of residents and the Zoning Commission. There has been 4 public hearings held from the Zoning Commission standpoint. The latest one on May 17th, when the applicant presented a plan of 44 lots to the Zoning Commission, and it was recommended for approval. Previously on March 8th, there was a denial to the case when it was 48 lots. And Alan Schaefer, if you have anything additional you want to add, or if you want to wait till after public comment, that is fine. Yep.
First of all, it's been an interesting process. It's been an interesting road we've traveled down. We've spent a lot of time with the residents. We scheduled the meeting last Monday night, which is a little tight, but that's about the best we could do, working with the residents to get it done. I think it was a positive meeting. We covered a lot of ground. We're in for 44 lots, as Eric pointed out. Staff and Planning Commission have, staff's recommended it, Planning Commission's recommended it, and now we're here before this body for approval. And in speaking with Erica, we don't have a long, drawn-out presentation because it has been before you, and if there's any specific questions, we're absolutely here to answer them, and we'll take all the time we need to get the answers to those questions.
All right, so at this time, I will call anyone to the podium who wants to speak in favor of the zoning case. Okay, seeing none, I will call anyone to the podium who would like to speak in opposition of the zoning case. Any comments against the zoning case? Yes, sir, please. And would you please state your name and address for the record?
Do what?
No, I didn't have it on. Oh, okay. Can you all hear us now?
Hello. You hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm sorry. Desmond Terrell, 3137 Northerton Court. For the previous meeting, I came up and spoke as well, too. It's not that we're against it. We're against them putting that number of houses in that area. I think a lot of neighbors, I said it was at 44, then it went to 35 or 34. But we discussed on if they put 44 homes over in that area with only 1 or 2 areas coming out onto Yorkshire, that's going to be a lot of traffic just coming out of that one area at a certain time. And then the one guy came up and did the traffic times and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't see that at this day and time with the traffic and stuff like that. I mean, I've been in this area for 4 years. When they started building that development, we was over there looking at it, and when we finally got there into that area, me and my wife, we loved it. And we love the area. We love Vandalia. We come from Dayton. So everybody wants to make money and want the revenue to come into the area, but that is still a lot of homes in that one area. You know, and I said at the last meeting, you know, you have, if you go across Dixie, you know, the new development over on the left side, that's been there for years, and there's still vacant lots over there. Nobody's built over there. So what's to say that's not going to happen over in that area as well, too? So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Connie Jorgen, 3211 Green Turtle. Again, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm against the number of lots that are going in. I'm concerned with the drainage because where I live, we have a creek on the other side, behind where you live, Mike. There's a creek running through. So don't tell me they're going to be able to dry all that up and we're not going to have any water issues. Another thing is the traffic. Like he said, the two streets coming out at that end, and I asked you the other night, what are we doing with this traffic? Because now we've got the middle school. We have an employee that stands out there and stops traffic to let the traffic out at the end of school. So that backs everything up. It backs it up past, at Little York and Dixie. Sundays we've got Christian Life Center, where we got Butler Township stopping traffic. There's too much congestion in that area. Now you're going to add all these other houses and all this other traffic. You all aren't living there. We are, and we have to deal with it. So that's another concern of mine, is the traffic, the water issue, and the number of houses. And this builder is building someplace else, and some of the houses, they're just throwing them up. And I read all the reviews today, and they don't have a lot of good reviews for this builder. So if you want to put a quality home in there, it's fine, but don't just be throwing up houses just to have people just to move in. And like he said, we've had a lot of lots. I've been there 31 years. So I've seen the development, and over where you're at, there's still a lot of empty lots, and that's been for a long time. So that's my comment.
Thank you.
Hello. Kenyatta Bryce, 7548 Yorkshire Drive. I will piggyback off of what my neighbor said. We're not opposed to it. We just want quality homes being built. It's not the quantity. It's the quality of the homes. And the reviews have been, we've all seen the reviews. We've been here multiple times. That's not the ideal builder that we would like over there. Also, we do not, the traffic is another issue. I'm not 100% sure the traffic guy who came, I never seen any traffic cameras. I'm pretty sure they have those. I've never seen any speed cameras or anything. I have a son who is 7, and I cannot let him out of my front yard unless I'm out there, which of course you're supposed to be, but there's cars just flying. 35 is not the speed limit over there. It's about 45 or 50. So I think, I can keep going on that. But we moved there for a reason. And I think that we should really think long and hard about the type of people, the type of builders that we allow into our community. Because we have a very safe community. We can all go walking. We have a lot of wildlife, which I know that nobody really cares about, or some of us do. But I like to see the ducks that come every year, the deer. But that's mainly our biggest concern. We are here hoping that you guys represent us and think about us and think about the retired people who live there, the elders who live there, the children that live there, the prior military that live there. Think about all of the people who go to work every day and work hard to be able to live in a nice community that does not allow people to just come in and throw up homes. So please think of us when you make your vote tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Bryce. Anyone else? Certainly. Just state your name and address.
Sure. I'm Al Eder. I live at 3174 Green Turtle, so my interest is my backyard. Seen the plans, and selfishly, I like how the green space there is and how that kind of favors a lot of people. I hear concerns on the builders. I think most builders, if you check them out, probably have a lot of negative reviews. It's just the nature of the beast. But I selfishly would love that never to develop. I love nature. I love deer coming on my property. But what I heard at the zoning meeting last Tuesday, they have a okay now to put 34 lots in. They could start that now. They could have started it previously. And there's not as much control on the green space, the drainage, the extra road they were going to build out of the place. One of the trustees, and I can't think of his name, very eloquently, when they all voted yes to approve it, brought this point up that he really favored that this is the better option over the 34 lots just going up now. You don't know what you're going to get. I think that's just a point the trustees ought to know.
Thank you. Certainly.
At the last meeting, one of the zoning commissioners, they said that the reason why they were in favor of passing this was because that somebody came up to them after one of the last meeting, a neighbor, we're not going to say that neighbor's name for privacy concerns, and said that if you put 44 homes in there, we'll all be fine with that. And so they said that's why they were agreeing to it, because there's somebody off the record said 44 homes. I don't think you conduct business like that. If you have something to say, you say it on the record so that all of the neighbors that have been coming to every one of these meetings can have a voice and can say, we agree with him or we do not agree with him. So we did not agree to 44 homes, and none of us said that we were in favor of 44 homes. And then also with the developer saying that I can just throw 34 homes up there and there's no drainage fixage, sorry, I have braces, no drainage fixes and no green space. Well, I think that says a lot about the builder, because if you care about what you're about to do or your project, you want, and your name and your stamp is on it, you want it to look great. So if you've already shown us that you can do the green space, I don't even see why that would be up for discussion. It's done. We should get the green space however many homes go up there. Of course, we do not want 44, but if they do move forward with the 34 plans as township, we still want the green space. And the people who deal with the issues in their basement, the flooding, the water, that should still be fixed too if you're going to come in and develop. I know that there's, I can go on, but I think you guys know how I feel. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Does the applicant have any comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Uh-huh. No, you're welcome to come up. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry about that, y'all. Like the previous meeting, I did say something about the prices of the homes. So I guess they were starting at 1,700 square feet up to a minimum amount for $350,000. I just think that it's just really not the price market for a home. So, if you spending that kind of money for a home, you want a quality home and a home of square footage. I just don't see that in this market today for that smaller square footage of a home for a brand new construction. All of us over in that neighborhood, we have 3,000 and better. And you have homes that are there, not, I call them modular homes. They seem like they just throw them up in a day or so. They're building homes in our area now, and they're quality builders over there too. You see them working on it. They're just putting their hardship work in there. And I'm not saying that this builder or whatever builder's coming in are not doing that, but that's what you want to see if you're going to spend that kind of money on a home, not something that's dropped off on a truck. You got your trusses and then your walls and everything else, and everybody's just nutting, boating, putting everything together. So that's one of my comments. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else? Schaefer? Mr. Schaefer?
Let me address that last comment first, if I could. So the 5 elevations that we showed so far start with a 1,771 square foot house, and they go up to 2,600 square feet in the list of 5 that we showed. I'm sorry, can you hear me now? I'm sorry. And
Mr. Schaefer, could you please start over because I had trouble also?
Sure. So the 5 elevations that have been submitted so far, the smallest elevation is a 1,771 square foot house. That house can be purchased. Right now, it's for sale between $364,000 and $391,000 in this market. This is not a modular house. It doesn't come on a trailer and get glued together or screwed together. Each one of these elevations has 4 different option choices, which totals then, any buyer has then 8 ultimate options that they can have in that house. Picking 1, 2, 3, or 4, or picking 2 and 4, 1 and 3, or not any of them. So that's where you get the change of values, if you will. Also in this market, and that's the only single-story house that's part of the elevations that have been submitted so far. All the others are 2-story elevations at 1,818 square feet, 2,100, 23, 89, 2,600, and they go from 350,000 up to 433,000. These are being sold in this market today.
How much did you say? What was the range?
Anywhere from 350,000 for a 2-story up to 433,000. Those are prices that are being sold. These houses are being sold at today. Now, there's in this area. Yes, ma'am. Well, when we say this area, I mean I'm going to draw a circle that maybe is 5 miles, 6 miles. Northern Dayton, Butler Township, but there's some of these houses are being sold at those prices over in Huber Heights and Carriage Trails. In 2021, the county records tell us that there were 3 houses sold in sections 1 and 2. One sold for $340,000. One sold for $350,000, and one sold for $315,000. I don't know if the guy that sold for $315,000 made a bad deal or not. That seems awfully low. But my point is that the prices that are being asked for these houses that will be going into this development are right there. They're not in the $295,000 range or the $310,000 range. They're right there where current values, based upon current market sales that have occurred, match. So the traffic issue has been discussed a lot. If we put in 34 lots, that's going to generate, which we're permitted to do under the current plan, that's going to generate 34 more lots of traffic. When the project was approved 20 years ago, that scale of traffic was part of that approval. We're adding 10 houses to that number. There will be 10 additional houses that will be added to that traffic. I have Richard Oates here tonight who's willing to testify, but his testimony in the past before this body and before the zoning commission was that generates at peak hours, less than the single-digit additional cars. So 7, 8, 9 additional cars per hour at peak hours. In addition to that, with the drop lane that we'll be adding, which when you come south on Yorkshire Drive to Little York, right now if I do that, and I want to turn left to go out onto Little York toward North Dixie, everybody behind me has to stop because there's no way to get around me if they want to turn right. Well, with this drop lane that we're putting in, we will alleviate that issue. So if I'm turning left and there's two cars behind me that want to turn right, they'll be able to drop into that lane and turn right, so we keep that traffic moving, which was not part of the project that was approved 20 years ago. So we have made some efforts here. In fact, that's a rather expensive effort to add that drop lane to alleviate some of this traffic, which with 10 new houses at I'm going to say minimal additional per hour, peak hour, and that drop lane, I'm not going to say it's a de minimis impact, but it's not a huge impact. It's just not. All right? And our traffic guys here talk to that issue if you'd like. The drainage issue also has received a lot of attention, and it should. And it has, and we've spent a ton of time with our civil engineer making sure he understands the severity of this issue and how it's got to be addressed. It means fixing. So part of the plan calls for, well, back up. The 34-lot project was also engineered 20 years ago to have its drainage come back through the project and would end up in the basin that's right in front of the project on Little York, almost right at the corner of Little York. Well, even though we have a much more additional green space that we're calling for in our area to hold back runoff, we're also putting in a drainage area right between our project and the existing houses on the east side of Little York Drive that abut the project. So if I'm currently an owner on Little York with my backyard that abuts the project, instead of having a house in my backyard with a fence and so on, I'm going to have green space. And part of that green space is going to be a dry basin so that in heavy rain events, water will stay in there and it will discharge at a rate less than pre-development, which is what the law essentially is. Most of the time, it's going to be a dry basin that will get moved. There won't be water. It's not going to hold water permanently. It's only going to be there to hold water on a temporary basis. And then, of course, the drainage that's already part of the project is not going to go anywhere. So when you put the two of them together and add 10 houses to it, I would submit to you that's an over-engineered, but we're not going to change it, approach to handling the drainage. Bottom line is, it's got to be handled any time that this body approves a zoning matter. Part of that approval has contingencies automatically. And one of those contingencies is that drainage is submitted to Montgomery County, that it gets approved by Montgomery County, signed off on by Montgomery County. Help me here, I'm wrong, Ms. Vogel, but do you have an engineer on staff or one that you rely upon?
No, we do not. The county handles the review.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, so you're not giving up anything. I mean, ours has not been approved by the county because you haven't submitted yet because it's going to cost some time and money to put it all together. We talked to the county. Our guy understands the issue. Has talked to the county engineer on multiple occasions, and so everybody's aware of the issue. We're just waiting to go if we can get there, so it can be designed and approved. Because that's the only way the project can build. If that's approved, if they get approved, the project doesn't get built. That's the contingency that gets built in. So.
I'm sorry, is that a present contingency?
That would be a contingency on their approval if they approve this thing. In other words, the project can go forward to the next step. The next step is some of these other approvals, putting the drop lane in, fixing the drain, taking care of the drainage, making sure that the grading is all done properly. I mean, there's a bunch of contingencies actually in this deal. And then when all that occurs and gets signed off on, then the developer can go in for the first permit to build, and not until then. That's the process. That's the way it works. So there are multiple contingencies that will stick with this. We'll go through various processes. You may have some, I don't know, maybe some police and fire kind of issues that have to be addressed. I'm not sure. But those contingencies all have to be addressed, and before they'll issue a zoning permit.
Yes.
Zoning permit allows the developer then to go down and pull a permit to build a project. In that process, incidentally, the developer takes in a pack of drawings that fit and gives them to the county. And the county has to go through those and approve those too. So I understand that the contractor that has been chosen so far for this project is not loved by the community necessarily, but the guys, they build 80,000 houses a year, and that's not a reason for you to approve them. Don't make me think that I'm pushing that on you. I'm not. But there have been, they're not involved in any lawsuits here locally. They have been involved in lawsuits nationally. They're offering 8 different options to every single house purchaser that's going to go in there to pick their favorite elevations, amenities, et cetera, et cetera. That's why there's these differences in prices. The benefit of the green space, of course, is to all those properties that are along Yorkshire Drive on the east side, which abuts the project. Also, all those properties on the north side, where this gentleman lives, I believe, in the next project to the north, also benefit significantly because we, in essence, are leaving a big chunk of that green space green. Now, in order to have green space in that project, that green space has to come from somewhere. So if we build a project with 34 lots at the current requirement, there is no green space because it's all going into the lots. Now, arguably, having green space in each lot is good, I guess. And then that's how it is in sections 1 and sections 2. There's no green space over there except for the detention. The green space is in each individual lot because the lots are bigger. When we shrink the size of the lots, we've picked up 2.84 acres of ground that allow us to put it into the green space that would not be there without the smaller lots and the additional lots to make it work. So 2.84 acres of green space spread over 44 lots is 2,800 square feet, plus or minus. And it's there for the benefit of both the existing properties on Yorkshire Drive that abut the project. It's obviously helpful to the properties to the north that are in a neighboring project, and it clearly helps the new houses that are being built. How about the people in sections 1 and 2? How's it helping them? Are they getting the benefit of any of that green space? Well, I would submit to you that, first of all, by virtue of lot size to begin with, that green space is already there, number one. But number two, the more aesthetically pleasing the entry to their development is, which that green space will bring, helps the entire project. The better the drainage issues are taken care of and so on, that can only help the entire project. Having that property developed with some semblance of aesthetic appeal. Granted, it's also being built to a degree to match what the current market is asking for because we want it to be a success. All of that helps the entire project. I know I'm Alan Schaefer. I'm testifying on behalf of the developer. Do I have a specific point of view? Of course I do. But it would be difficult for me to stand up here and say this stuff if I didn't believe it. And when you look at it, when you see it, when you go through it, when you bring in the experts, we have the guy with the 32-page valuation report that his opinion was that the impact is negative to positive, not sorry, is neutral to positive on the existing housing because having compatible housing product that is a relative match in value, in his opinion, can only help both sides of the equation, both sections 1 and 2 as well as sections 2. So with all that there, that's where I am. I guess I have no more than any questions that you have.
Well, you definitely made the development sound beautiful. No doubt about that. Am I allowed to ask the patron, the resident who came in during Ellen's speech to speak, even though we've passed that? If she wants to speak, I mean.
That's up to you.
Would you like to speak since you came in late, or not so much? No? Okay. I just wanted to offer it to you. You don't have to. Okay. If you want to speak, you have to come up to the podium. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It's a public hearing, and I didn't want to leave anyone out.
So I'm Tarina Mason. I reside at 3148 Northerton Court. I think this makes probably my 4th meeting or so. So last week I attended the zoning commission meeting, and I heard Alan spiel, and I met with Alan with a group of neighbors on Monday prior to the meeting on Tuesday, and he went over his proposal. So what it sounds like to me is that if we vote down the 44 homes, then we will not have any drainage. We won't have, all the different things that they're saying that they're going to put into this 3rd phase. I just have some issues with the builder, and I made that known Tuesday. I don't care if they, nationally, that's the issue, their reputation. So nationally, they do not have a good star rating. So it's just a matter of time before something happens in Montgomery County because, they are who they are. So I don't want them in the community. And the other thing, I just have an issue with the housing price. It just seems like it's kind of inflated. So because of the size of the homes, I just don't see anyone really paying that amount of money for 1,600 square feet or 1,800 square feet, and they're saying $325,000 or $315,000 or whatever. It seems like the numbers are a little bit inflated to me, and especially with the interest rates going up like they are now. So it's really all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schaefer, would you like to respond to the comment?
No, we did have plenty of discussion about that, and I think that I covered the rest of those issues already.
Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to add a couple things that I know were not brought up as throughout the discussion tonight. The covenants and restrictions, I know we've talked about in several meetings. The building requirements are all the same. That's in line with Yorkshire Reserve. We're requiring the 3-foot mound and landscaping in that green space area. And the house value has been brought up a few times. The agreed on minimum price that was discussed was $335,000 minimum. So it could go up anywhere from there, but the $335,000 was the minimum. And then they will be required to create a lighting district like the sections 1 and 2 were required. They have, recommended that right turn lane out. We would definitely want them to pursue that. And you guys have the rest of the conditions and stuff in front of you, so I won't go through everything, but I just wanted to touch on those because I know we didn't really discuss that during this hearing.
Sure. Mr. Schaefer?
So with regard to the valuation request of $335,000 as part of the conditions, so that is legally it's an unenforceable provision. Now, I can't stop you from sticking it in, but it's a legally unenforceable position, and I don't know if it will scare away buyers because, well, it doesn't. Let me back up. There are no houses that are currently for sale in there for $335,000. They're all at a greater price, and so it probably isn't going to be an issue anyway. But it is a provision that's unenforceable, and it seems that I would suggest we not put it in. That's all.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on. Mr. Jackson, Trustee Jackson, do you have any questions for the applicant or comments? Actually, let's do questions if you want.
I believe that we've had, this is our third meeting now. Mr. Schaefer, appreciate you going through these processes with us and addressing the concerns and questions of each one of the residents throughout these meetings. I do not have any further questions.
All right. Trustee Tyne, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Nope, I have no questions.
Okay. All right. Alan, I do have a couple. I just want to recap some things and make sure I understand, have all the correct information before we vote this evening. So the builder is going to be DR?
DR Horton as of today.
So you executed an agreement with them today? Okay, well, that's what I expected to hear. I just was asking, did you execute an agreement yet? Okay. Do you know, do they have any projects going on locally right now?
They do over in Huber Heights.
Okay.
And in that Carriage Trails development, they've broken it into different sections. And so they have houses and I think there's three different, like there's Windermere, there's Silver Lakes, and there's maybe a third one within, and they have pockets in each one of those where they're developing houses.
Mr. Schneike, is that correct? Yes. Are you aware that DR has a project going on, or it appears that they do, in Bartley Woods, which is 2.3 miles from your proposed development? Okay. And that the square footage of those homes is 1,498 minimum to 2,053 square feet minimum, with a sales range of 262 to 297. I can pull out my phone. They're very similar. They're beautiful homes.
Which project are we talking about?
Bartley Woods.
This one? Within 2 miles of this property?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Off Bartley Road, the other side of Imperial Hills. Yeah.
So in Harrison Township, is that Harrison Township then?
Yes, Harrison.
Oh,
Is
City
that
of Dayton?
actually?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
it
City
could
of
be.
Dayton, because that's, isn't that some of the infill from the tornadoes and stuff?
No, it's
No?
just never been
New?
developed.
Okay.
It's been a road much like what's going on tonight, but on the other side of Bartley Estates. Which is where I spent most of my youth and adult life.
Well, it wouldn't be the same specs because they're smaller square footage to begin with.
if you're using that builder, I'm just curious about how
I did
well
say
you
that
know
I've
them.
been Bill Hayes.
No, I'm not saying either. I'm just wondering how closely you've worked with them. All right, so my next question is, so this original property that you've acquired, the 34 lots was approved back in 2002, correct? But it was not your property at that time? You did not own it? Okay. Who can answer my question? Okay, would you please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record?
My name is Ed Kress, Kress.
Okay. So this land was originally, this 34 lots?
We purchased the land in, the zoning, and I believe, was 2003, 2004.
2003, yeah.
And we bought, the total was 43 or 44 acres at the time.
And are you the original owner of that land?
When you say original, we were...
Did you do the design for 34 homes? Did you own
Yes.
it at that time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If I may explain.
Certainly.
The original builder was Drees, D-R-E-E-S.
I'm familiar.
And Drees had a contract to buy 50% of the lots. And we put in sections 1 and 2, and Drees made a corporate decision to pull out of Montgomery County. So they did buy 50% of the lots in section 1 and 2. And then we have sold off the balance. There are 4 left. There are 4 lots left in section 1 and 2. And I mean, I've spoken with Eric as recently as today on that.
Okay. So I'm a little lost here. In 2002, the 34 lots were approved, and you were part of that.
Yes, the
Okay.
master development plan laid out 3 sections, section 1, 2, and 3. We have completed the development of sections 1 and 2. And when we came back for section 3, you know, in the interim period of time, the housing market has changed. And let me speak personally. My wife and I were the second family to move into Stillwater Woods. We moved into Stillwater Woods in 1988. I've lived in Butler Township for 31 years, and one of the reasons we moved out of Butler Township is there was no available housing stock for empty nesters. We looked and looked and looked, and there wasn't anything that worked for us. So, I mean, my children were educated in the Vandalia Butler school system, and we were good residents. I was one of the co-developers of Meeker Creek, which was a large lot development for bigger family homes. And when we looked at section 3 of Yorkshire, what we came away with of what was missing in this community was a place to downsize.
And when did you deduce this?
I'm sorry?
When did you come up with this?
When did we come?
Yeah.
This plan?
Yes.
Starting in 2020 and 2021.
All right. I'm listening. Is that it?
Well, I thought I tried to be responsive to your questions.
I thought I interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
Apologies. Okay. So in 2021, 20 and 21 is when you thought you would maybe, changes would be imminent
No,
to
when
that
we
development
looked to see
plan?
what was the market. And,
Sure.
I mean, not everybody wants a big family home. So that was, we thought that this would be something that would help Butler Township because it would give a different type of housing unit availability.
So in 2020 and 2021, were the owners the same as in 2002?
2003. The original person that started the development was a man named Joe Rengers, Rengers, and he died probably 90% through the zoning process, and then we purchased the whole thing and then finished it up.
And that would have been when?
In the 2004 range.
Okay.
Well, he started it. Alan just asked the question saying the zoning was his, Mr. Rangers. Mr. Rangers had the agreement with Dries Homes, couldn't execute on it. And in turn, we came in and finished it and went through the end of the zoning process. And I'm trying to be responsive, but I truly don't remember exactly what happened 18 years ago.
Yeah, I understand that.
But we were the ones that put the streets in. We were the ones that hired the contractors. We were the ones that dealt with Dries's pulling out of the project and trying to finish it without lowering the standards.
I'm just trying to determine at what point the development plan changes were imminent based on the market.
Well, based upon...
And it sounds like the answer was 2020 and 2021, which makes me then wonder if you knew that the market was different at that point, why, well, maybe you did. Did you guys notify the residents and the local board of realtors that the plans for that development were imminent to change and that the market is now calling for something different?
No, but we worked through a realtor that was really our selling agent. And part of what she said to us was that people's desires have changed. And I mean, she worked with us. She sold our home in Stillwater Woods. Okay, you have an aging population base in this community. You have starter homes. But if you look and see the absorption, and Erica may know the answer to this, but how many new homes have been built in Butler Township over the last 5 years?
We've averaged about 2 homes per year.
How many?
Before this past kind of surge, we averaged about 2 per year.
Okay.
I mean, it was not, we've not had a lot of new home build. Yeah.
It's been slow, and what we're trying to do is build a product that will sell. And if I may, Erica, you mentioned at one of the zoning meetings that you did diligence on D.R. Horton. D.R. Horton is the largest builder in the country. And Alan testified, if you will, and I don't know this, but I'm going to repeat it, that they built 80,000 homes a year. Well, if you do 80,000 of anything, there's going to be some complaints out there. But they don't grow to be the biggest builder in the country without having a satisfactory record because, I mean, just the size of the company. And Erica, when you checked in Montgomery County, would you repeat to the trustees what your diligence told you about?
Yeah. I reached out to, knowing that the development was going on in Huber, I reached out to the city of Huber Heights to see if they had any issues with the builder from a building department or zoning standpoint. And the only thing, I mean, they said they had some concerns originally because they also had a no vinyl, like we do, no vinyl requirement, but it was only on the lots as you enter the development on the corners. And so their issue there was just they started putting up vinyl on some of those corner homes. Well, they had to address that right away. After that, everything was fine. Montgomery County building regulations handles all their building permits. And they had the building official for Montgomery County, he said that they really have not had any issues. They've completed their projects. Like a lot of times builders will want a temporary occupancy permit prior to their final because they don't have certain things done. They still have a punch list. He said they don't ever worry about that with D.R. Horton. They're really good about checking all those boxes and making sure that things are complete from that standpoint. So he said, he goes, I don't think I've ever issued a temporary for D.R. Horton. So he said from that standpoint, I would say that you don't have anything to worry about from the building side of things. But But yeah, we'll do the zoning review in-house, like we do so like anything site-related, we would review, make sure the elevations were in compliance, and all that, and then the building department at Montgomery County would have responsibility over the building permit.
Okay.
So does that answer what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So at no point, Mr. Crust, did you guys notify the surrounding residents of the impending change to the development based on the market?
We notified through your process when we filed an application for a change, and that's why.
And when was that filed? This year, last year?
Like mid-October for the
21?
November 16th zoning commission hearing.
Okay.
And then as part of that process, and I'm saying that process because we've been at this, as kind of this process and that process, part of that process, we scheduled a meeting with the neighbors in February. And I'm not sure any of the residents that are here today were at that meeting. We had kind of a low turnout. We were kind of disappointed about that. That's the other reason we scheduled it again. And I contacted the two Tess, Mrs. Smith, and you, right? Mason, I'm sorry, Mrs. Mason, and asked if we could get a meeting with them. And she asked if we could bring neighbors. I said, heck yes, bring the neighbors. That's what we want, and that's what we did last Monday night.
All right.
Here's the 2003 was the first section, 2006 was the second section, and then hasn't been anything since.
Okay. Okay, so there was no transparency in your plan to change the development, even though you intended to, is what you're saying by.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying we put together a plan and concurrently filed it.
But prior to that, in 2020 and
We didn't know what we
2021, when you knew that the market had changed, you didn't bother to notify their surrounding subdivisions that they can expect an imminent change in development plan.
Okay. First of all, starting in 2020 with the pandemic.
I'm just saying as a courtesy to them.
Okay. The answer to that is no, because we hadn't firmed up a plan. We brought in Mr. Schnicke to assist us in finishing the project in a way that would be good for the community, with the community being Butler Township, be good for Yorkshire. That's why we've agreed to do the things that we don't have to do by way of the 34 lots. Because when Erica said you've been doing 2 new homes a year, I mean, we've sold off the lots, 1 or 2 a year for a period of probably the last 7 or 8 years. But until we firmed up what our plan was, there really was nothing to talk to the community about. And as soon as we've had meetings with Erica along the way, and as soon as we came up with the plan, we filed it and started the public meeting process. And by trying to, again, we were trying to be totally transparent. And that's why we had the neighborhood meetings, trying to get input.
Okay. Mr. Schnicke, do you live in Ohio? Yes. Okay. Oh, if you would please.
Close the public hearing now.
I didn't yet.
Oh, you didn't?
Oh, yeah, I did. Did I? No, we didn't get there yet. We're still on the board members having questions.
Oh, gotcha.
If you have a question or comment, please step to the podium. State your name and address. You're welcome to. You're welcome to.
So to piggyback off what he said and what Erica said, 2 homes per the 5 years or so like that. But then again, I addressed that you have the development across Dixie that's been sitting there for longer than this area has been sitting vacant. So what's to say that you come in there and start breaking ground on that, and that sits there just like it's sitting across the street, across 60. I mean, that's been sitting there for more than 4 years since I moved over here, and
Has it been built out?
no, it hasn't been built out. It's been sitting vacant.
But are there streets in it?
Yes, the streets and everything, and there's still vacant lots and all that. Like he said too, he's lived here. You said you lived in the area for over 30 years, and then you moved out.
Yes, because we couldn't find an area to build a smaller home. Children are grown. We don't need a 4,000 square home.
Okay, you said that, but then think about the people who do want that size footage of a home and spend the right kind of money that they're talking about spending for a smaller home. I mean, it's just, you're on a pendulum with this. You know, you don't know where you want to go with it. I mean, are all the lots sold over there? That was one of the questions we asked too. We couldn't get a definite over in the phase
This is not
where
gonna
we're talking
happen.
about building. Are all those lots sold?
We don't have a contact.
Okay.
But we did ask that question the last time, and I think somebody said every lot was sold besides 3 or 4.
No, sections 1 and 2.
Okay, so I was
Okay.
confused on that.
Let's,
Remaining lots that were unsold.
Okay. And then to piggyback off of that too, you said that was sitting, Dreets pulled out. What's to say that D.R. Horton won't pull out if nobody builds on that lot now too?
okay.
You got to think about that. You break ground over there, the market's not there now.
Well, we hope our contracts for all the lots.
All right, one at a time.
But you have to
Okay.
think of-
Thank you for your comments.
sorry.
Mr. Schaefer, do you want to respond to Desmond? Okay. Okay, really quick, and that is the last one.
Connie Jorgen, when he mentioned about the phase 3, because you can't get, you needed smaller homes. I mean, people want to downsize. I understand that. Just like the Villas of New York, that was built, originally it was supposed to be 55, I think, and over community in Villas. They're all patio homes, which is wonderful. But if you're looking at phase 3 and you're saying you want to go with a smaller, so people can downsize, then why are we having 3,000 square foot homes? Then the whole phase 3, shouldn't that be smaller homes or patio homes or whatever? If you're saying people need to downsize?
One of the pluses of the whole project is that it calls for a variety of housing product mix. So in sections 1 and 2, in the whole thing, it calls for minimum house sizes that permit and promote promote smaller houses up to, as big as you want to build practically. And part of the goal of this was to maintain that kind of mix so that it would complement sections 1 and 2 better than building a whole bunch of great big houses or bringing in a whole bunch of smaller houses. In fact, in the covenants and conditions, we're required to provide a mix of housing. We can't build 2 1,800 square foot houses next to each other. There's got to be a variety, there's got to be a mix. And that's consistent with sections 1 and 2. It's consistent with the covenants conditions for the whole project.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kress, the reason I was asking those questions is because when Dries came in, I remember that they were very responsive and respectful to the working community around them. They wanted to know, they took the temperature of the area, and they knew what it could tolerate, and that they knew how to gain the support of the surrounding subdivisions, and that's why I was asking those questions. I just want to see a genuine compromise here between the developer and our residential community, and that's why I was asking those questions. So the next question I have, Mr. Schaefer, is the renderings that you referred to earlier. Do you have something that you can show me that are what they look like?
Yeah, they're part of the,
They would have been, yeah, in the
they're
packet.
part of your package.
Are they in the packet today?
Not the, it's
Uh-huh.
in the previous packets that you guys.
Are they the elementary looking renderings, or did you submit new ones?
So in the original package that we submitted in October, we supplemented in for the, maybe the second meeting of the planning, of the zoning commission, that was originally going to be in December. We postponed it actually to February, and then we had a audio-visual issue, so we couldn't
Yeah.
have that.
They would have been the
until
ones-
March.
They would have been the ones that were revised for the trustees workshop, would have been the last ones. So the 4 different types of each elevation, the actual.
Thank you.
Yeah, the actual facades.
I don't recall seeing even seeing those at that meeting. Where they were the,
Do you want me to pull them up on the
if
presentation?
you can, please. I'm sorry. Mr. Schaefer, the renderings came from DR, even though you don't have an agreement with them executed? So renderings is something they do complimentary prior to. Okay. Okay.
I'll go through the 4. Right,
Okay.
there's the Sienna with the 4 different versions. The Pendleton with the 4 different versions.
Oh, I do recall these now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Asher. And then that's the one single story, which is the Chatham. So those are, oh, there's 5. Henley. So there's one of the examples from this is down south. This is Murrah, Ohio, but 433 of the 2389. I don't think you had any other ones on here. Oh, yeah, you do. These are just some cost comparisons of other, these are Huber Heights, the 1771, 392, and 364 sale price. And then the Henley, this is also in Morrow, 416. Well, yeah, I would have to say that too. Looking at it on just on that dimensional, yeah. But.
And do you have any renderings with stone front? Was that part of the?
That's an option.
Right.
So I think there's elevation C has stone.
Yeah, at the bottom. And some stone, I think, on the bottom of that elevation D.
Thank you for bringing that up
Yeah.
on the screen. I would agree, they don't look like they belong in that area. The texture does not look the same as what surrounds it. Like Turtles is custom-built home. As you know, Yorkshire is custom-built home. And that does not look custom-built or
These pictures don't do them justice. You need to go look at them to see them, because I think this is Alan Schaefer speaking, so maybe it's just me, but they present, you get a completely different feel for the house when you see the house. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. Next question I have. Now, the details of the drainage plan that you were kind enough to share with us this evening. Let's see here. Is that designed yet or engineered, those drainage plans?
We have some preliminary designs been done on it.
Okay.
We have, of course, the existing design of the existing. So what we're doing is plugging into that by adding additional drainage, making sure that it plugs into the whole shoot and match down below, and that it will eliminate the existing drainage problems that are now. Now, when you go down Scarborough, it dead ends, and there's a big, they just push the dirt back, and it's kind of there. And I think it's you're in Northington. It might be Mrs. Bryce's backyard or another house down the way. It needs to all be graded out, final graded, and all cleaned up, because the current way that the lack of grading has created a problem for some of those people.
And you mentioned that I don't remember what your language was earlier, but you are planning to do extra to make that drain better than it did before the development occurred?
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. Yes, we're adding some additional area that will actually hold drainage. Now, most of it's just going to be runoff. It'll come down and goes over, and it goes into the pond right there in the front of Yorkshire on the west side.
West side.
In addition, we're putting in another holding basin, if you will. So in heavy water events, it will hold water until and discharges it at a lower rate.
Okay.
The green space itself, especially in back where we have a large amount of green space that we're retaining, that in and of itself in that fashion holds water. It discharges at a pre-development rate because it's pre-development. And so that will assist the runoff by not creating greater runoff.
Okay.
We're also going to landscape the heck out of the green spaces between the existing houses on Yorkshire and the new houses in the green space, so that instead of the current Yorkshire Drive houses that currently abut that space, instead of having a house in their backyard, they're going to have heavily landscaped green space in their backyard. They won't even see the house on the other side of that.
You said they won't see it?
Well, it's going to be thick enough. Now, will they maybe be able to see it? Yeah, they might be able to see
I
it.
understand.
But the idea is just, it's not going to be, they're not going to have a fence on their property line and a house in their backyard.
Okay.
And vice versa, those newer houses are going to have a green space in their backyard, too.
Okay. And are you all aware that that is designated a national wetland, some of that space over there? I mean, that doesn't mean, are you aware of that?
I'm not aware that it's designated. If it is, that's going to have to factor into the runoff calculations.
It is. And I guess my concern with 44 lots is that we all know an increase in impervious surface area results in greater drainage issues.
34 lots, you got the same issue, of course. Same issue. And
But
so
less
we're adding
impervious
10 more
surface.
lots, and so that'll be adding some more impervious surface. But we've pulled
Wait,
out.
can you repeat that, please? Because
So-
I'm
so
thinking,
at 34, if we add the additional 34 lots, that's already been approved. So that's going to generate runoff. So any additional runoff is going to come from those 10 houses that hasn't been dealt with yet. Correct? You see what I'm saying? In creating the green space, those 2.845 acres, we've created not only a buffer, but we've also created a drainage strip that will be part of the overall drainage plan. It'll also help, to a great degree, all the people on the north side who are up in Turtle Creek, who abut Turtle Creek. I'm sorry, who are in Turtle Creek that abut the project to the north.
okay, moving on to that right turn lane,
Yes,
proposed
ma'am.
right turn lane. Who's responsible for that?
Well,
I
just-
mean, expenditure-wise.
We are.
Okay. In my mind, I see a reconstruction project for that intersection because what is the typical width of a turn lane out of a subdivision? 9 to 13 feet,
I don't know.
according to the traffic code. It's 9 to 13 feet. And from the inside of that curb to the first landscaping brick is 20 feet. County road is, Little York is a county road.
Yorkshire's ours, and Little York, yeah.
So 20 feet from the inside of that curb is their entryway sign to their subdivision. So from the inside of the curb to that landscaping brick, it's the entryway sign for their, how can it not be? It's 20 feet and the lane has to be 9 feet. There's a sidewalk there in between. How can it, what, are you going to move the entryway sign? And there's a detention area. Oh,
Yeah,
the sidewalk abuts,
Yeah.
the sidewalk abuts
That
the
plan's
brick.
in the presentation, if you want to pull it up. There you go. I think it's just past the sidewalk from what I remember, but, oops. Yeah.
So you're not going to be cutting into the sidewalk at all, it looks like.
How's that possible?
No, that's a new proposed side, the sidewalk would move over, it looks like. So there's the sidewalk, and then it just scoots in a little bit, because the lane comes where the existing side, or no, that's curb that I'm looking at.
That strip on the right side is new sidewalk. Is that what we're looking at?
Richard, can you?
Richard, Mr. Oakes, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Richard Oakes. I'm a traffic engineer. My address is 1397 Jackson Road. The distance between the curbs, the face, you have the back of the curb, top of curb, face of curb comes out. And then the
I'm
gutter
familiar.
part. And that distance in there is exactly 24 feet. Okay? And
Explain that again, because I didn't measure anything yesterday at 24 feet. Have you been out there to measure it?
yes.
Okay.
And so, if I recall correctly, the site engineer added on, I believe, 6 feet to the west of it, not making any changes to the east side. And as depicted there in the photograph that I can see from here is the back of the new curb will be up against the sidewalk, but adding that 6 feet on will result in potentially 3 10-foot lanes at the intersection itself.
3
So a 10-foot wide lane going in, this is actual lane widths. The southbound left turn lane could be 10 feet, and the new southbound right turn drop lane would also be 10 feet, as depicted on the drawing. And I haven't looked at these drawings for a while, but I'm awful sure about those dimensions.
So the road's going to be even smaller.
There'll be 10-foot lanes instead of
There's only
12-foot
4.
lanes.
Yeah.
Correct. That's not an issue.
6 feet.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
then you have the entryway sign in the detention area
Well,
and the sidewalk.
As depicted on the aerial, it all fits together.
Well, I
And there's no
agree to
problem.
disagree with you on that.
Well, that's, all I can tell you is that 12-foot lanes are used on the interstate highway system. That's the widest lanes that are typically used. If you want to go over to State Route 48 in Inglewood, north of US 40.
I looked it up, Mr. Oaks.
Please?
So I looked it up today.
Well, I was just going to give you an example.
Subdivision lanes are 9 to 13 feet,
Okay, so we're good.
if you say so.
Well, yeah, it works.
It doesn't when you actually go out there and measure it.
Please?
It doesn't when I go out there and measure it.
I'll be happy to go out there whenever you want to measure it. It's what it was, so. Okay?
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. Ms. Chairwoman.
Pardon me?
I said Ms. Chairwoman. Let me ask you a question because I mispronounced your last name, so I'm going to say Ms. Chairwoman. Would you like us to double check this for you? Would that help? This footage issue?
I don't know that it's an issue yet. Let's finish.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for the offer, and I'll let you know.
Okay.
Maybe we need Mr. Oaks back up here again. So you did this traffic study, Mr. Oaks? And what mechanism did you use to complete the traffic study?
I used the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation charts and tables, which is the recognized national authority for things like this for any thousands of different land uses. And so I used that to determine that the additional traffic based on the additional 10 dwelling units would result in single-digit increase in the traffic volume during either the AM peak hour or the afternoon evening peak hour. So over that 1 hour time difference, or that 1 hour time interval, the additional traffic because of the 10 additional homes is going to result in single-digit additional traffic going in and out of Yorkshire at Little York.
And you didn't use a traffic count hose or any digital or electronic devices to count cars going in and out?
No, because we were looking at such small numbers, which are emotionally significant but factually insignificant.
Because you don't live there. So you didn't do your due diligence.
Excuse me?
So did you do your due diligence for all parties or just for the developer?
Anybody that knows me knows that one of my favorite things is I do not tell people what they want to hear. My responsibility as a registered professional engineer is to tell the client what they need to hear. Period.
Okay.
And it was an aside that I suggested that the developer contact the site engineer because I thought that the extra right turn lane coming out would fit. And then when I had the actual drawings, that's when it was clearly determined that that was a doable thing to help the traffic, not only the current traffic, but the future single-digit traffic.
At what point did you offer your services to the developer?
I didn't offer them. They contacted me.
Do you know about when that was?
First week or two of December, I think. Something like that of last year.
Here, after a meeting?
Please?
Was that here after a meeting?
No, December of last year.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I guess my next comment is at the Zoning Commission meeting on May 17th. And this is my concern, probably my biggest concern. One of them is at the last zoning meeting, and as indicated in the Township Administrator's email dated May 18th, 2022, Mr. Stamen is quoted as explaining that when the Zoning Commission voted to deny the 48-lot plan, one of the residents, as Ms. Bryce stated previously, after the meeting and off the record, according to Ms. Bryce, one of the residents in attendance said, if you can just get to 44, that would be acceptable. But in our meeting, our special workshop meeting that we had, you originally said that 44 would not work financially for the development. And then we heard that, oh, maybe it will work. And then the next thing we know, we're circumventing the Zoning Commission and Robert's Rules of Procedure to bring 44 lots to the trustees, at which time we tabled it back to zoning, which was clearly the right choice to do. But going on about Mr. Stamen's quote, that when the Zoning Commission voted to deny the 48-lot plan, one of the residents in attendance said, if you can just get to 44, that would be acceptable. So last time I checked, in a representative democracy, the support of one resident does not constitute the support of the majority. If that were true, none of us trustees would be sitting here today. It would be our opponents. Not sure if Mr. Kress is probably aware, Alan maybe, I don't know if you are, Mr. Schneike, but you know, we have a lot of struggles up in the northwestern portion of our community with the proliferation of economic development with other entities who don't play nice. And we also have issues with water contamination. We have a lot of issues up there for which, you know, us elected officials have very little ability to control or to fix. And I kind of liken this development to that, with the exception that we have more control here and we're willing to work with all of you. But we want a true compromise for our residents and our visitors and their well-being and their safety and the integrity of our community, where we can help control that. And you know, just all of those struggles and we're not able to help those people protect the one thing that's dearest to them related to the American dream, which is their land and their home. And so here we are able to help these people with something that is so dear to them. And I just feel like this development isn't quite refined yet. I think that we want it, and I think that we want it to be perfect. I just wish there was a little more communication with those residents from the moment that you knew the market changed, instead of just filing an application for 51 lots and coming in like a bunch of lions and thinking that these residents who are hardworking and transparent and realistic and respectful of the community wouldn't notice. And then I feel like when we asked you to do 44, you said that wouldn't financially work. Then you come back with 44. And I feel like I don't see the good neighbor in you yet. And I want to really bad. And I just, with the traffic, the turn lane, the wetlands, and the other items that were mentioned that I'm not listing, I feel like that there has to be another, and it doesn't have to be 34, because I know you don't like 34, but I want everybody to get something out of this. So if it's, I want to just say that I recommend either denial or I recommend an alternative option. That includes either 34 or 42 lots. 42 is straight down the middle, and a traffic study for something that I haven't been a part of a conversation with, which is a different means of egress for that development, such as Abraham Court is strictly a cul-de-sac, President Court is strictly a cul-de-sac. There'll be only a few homes on that lot, and it will lessen the traffic and increase safety in that neighborhood. I feel like it should include the improved drainage plan based on the wetlands, a traffic counts study on behalf of the township for Yorkshire and Little York Road intersection. I think it should include a buffer, landscaping, mounding, all as previously discussed, as well as the turn lane, a study for that, if deemed necessary by the study. I'm very concerned about the turn lane there, safety. And those are all my questions or comments. I know it was a lot. Thank you for entertaining me. And your war down.
Yeah, so what we've done is offered an alternative. If we fall back to the 34 lot development, we can do the 34 lot development. Mrs. Bryce will be happy with 34 lots, but she's not going to be happy because she's not going to get any green space in her backyard. We can't, there's some things we can't do. We can either do the 34 lots, or we can do something different that includes green space. In order to do something different that includes green space, we have to redesign what's left to develop, and that's what we've done. If we have stepped on toes by not being more engaged with the neighbors, then I'll take full responsibility for that. Because I've been doing this for 40 years and I should know better. I will tell you this, that the typical approach or the typical zoning process rarely includes multiple meetings with neighbors, which we have been able to facilitate. And it's been helpful. And that's why we're down to 44 lots. There's just some things we can do and some things we can't do. At the work session, when we discussed the 44 lots, I certainly wasn't in a position to make that decision. I don't own the property. Mr. Kress wasn't there. And so, you know, the obvious answer is we don't know if we can afford that. But we'll take it back, and we took it back and looked at it and said, gosh, we can't afford this. Now, maybe we should have copied the trustees on the same thing we copied the zoning commission on, so that you knew where we were coming from, so that you didn't have to wait until the decision was made. But that's a fine line to walk too. Are we trying to unduly influence you guys? We're not, So if we follow the process exactly the way it's laid out, then we're certainly not subject to the fact that we try to use undue influence. At the same time, we run the risk of being criticized for not reaching out enough. I had multiple conversations with some of the residents here on the phone and outreach. It's not as though we aren't diligently, in good faith, attempting to reach a solution that works for everybody. Does it work completely for us? No. Will it work completely for the residents? No. It just isn't. So all we can hope for is that we can reach some sort of compromise and move forward. And that's what we've been attempting to do. And I'm not saying that the residents haven't been attempting to do that. They've participated too. But there's some things we can't do. We can go ahead and build it at 34 lots and be done with it. But we can't give you green space, for instance. It doesn't work. If we came back and rezoned it, but then we're right back in the same fix. So here we are.
Mr. Kress, do you have any response to any of the requests or thoughts from Ms. Brzezinski?
We've tried to be totally transparent. I went to law school with Alan. We were in classes together, and so when he said 40 years, what he really meant to say was 48 years, okay? I've done zoning work, but I chose to retain Alan because that's all he does. And when we said to Alan, when he said, maybe we should have a neighbors meeting, I said, you're in charge of this. We want to do it right. And we've tried to do it right. As Erica will tell you, we've been interfacing through her. And what I've heard is whatever number comes up, there's always somebody that says, could you do a few less? And what we tried to do, I mean, the numbers don't work. We're better off doing the 34 lots, but that's not right for the community. And I've known Richard Oakes for 40 years. He's a qualified, respected traffic engineer. And we brought him in because part of what we saw was a concern of the neighbors, saying, what about the extra traffic? And when Richard said, in his opinion, based upon all the governing laws, this works, well, I also know that before anything is finalized, Montgomery County has to approve it. So there's a check and a balance here on all these things. There's a check and a balance on the drainage. There's a check and a balance on
But none of that's been submitted or drafted and submitted, so we don't know.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That you haven't had an opportunity to submit those plans yet. And that's not part of the deal at this point, and I understand that.
Correct, because it's one step at a time. We've hired the engineers, but you can't draw the final plans and put them out to bid until you have your approvals. And to answer one of your questions or comments, that actually it was the gentleman in the back, we are selling all 44 lots to the largest builder in the country, okay? We have a draft contract with them, but we can't sign a contract until we can represent and warrant that we have zoned land. So it's one step at a time, but we have D.R. Horton, who has brought forth a contract and says, this is what we're willing to do. And one of the preconditions is that we have land that's zoned to accommodate the planned number of homes. So, did I answer that question?
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
No.
Okay, because, like I said, we, through Alan, have tried to be totally transparent here. We've been working on this for 7 months with the township for 7 months. We've had, I don't know how many meetings, and I've tried to answer all the questions and come up with something, and this is going to be self-serving, but I don't mean for it to be. But everything I've ever done, I've always been proud of. I'm very proud of Meeker Creek. That was the Homerama site in 1998. And we fought that case to the Supreme Court because the neighbors didn't appreciate our plan to try and save trees. So we wanted to do a planned unit development so the streets weren't just basically rectangles. And I drive through there now and I'm proud of it because we did the right thing. We are truly trying to do the right thing here by doing the buffering, by doing the turn lane, by doing the extra detention, by dealing with the drainage issue, okay? And I can't give you the final answers because Montgomery County is going to really control that. But we've got a quality engineering company, we've got a quality traffic engineer, and we're prepared to invest our dollars because we feel strong enough that this will be a successful project and good for the community. Like I said, I lived here for 32 years, and I enjoyed Butler Township, but there was no housing stock. So, okay. Can I answer anything else for anybody else? Okay. And Erica will tell you that I'm easy to work with.
All right, Trustee Jackson, do you have any comments? Any further comments from you?
I guess my question actually would be for you specifically. Are you, through your line of questioning, are you working towards any proposal of any sort that is not before the board this evening?
Well, I indicated that I was working towards either a denial or, and I don't know what all I can legally recommend. So you'll maybe give some guidance, Mr. Schaefer, as we work together on a compromise that fits our residents. I've heard the 34 lots. But my original recommendation, if I didn't hear all the things I wanted to hear tonight, was a denial, recommendation of a denial, or a proposed development that includes 34 lots, the traffic study for the cul-de-sac egress onto Little York that mirrors Abraham Court and President Court, a amended and improved drainage plan based on the wetlands designation that we just discussed this evening, a traffic count study other than just a mathematical study for Yorkshire and Little York Road intersection, surrounding buffer, landscaping, mounding, all as previously discussed, as well as the turn lane, a study for that, and the implementation of the turn lane if deemed necessary by the study. That's all.
Mr. Tyne, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, so the green space and all the drainage, if it's a 44 lot, since you've been back 3 times to the table trying to compromise this deal, is the green space and the drainage, and that will be something that will be in the contract and make sure that that would stay, or how does that?
Absolutely, it'll have to stay.
I mean, I think the pricing of the home, I'm going through I had the same problem. I'm trying to downsize, and luckily I bought the lot next to me at my house, but there was no, and so I'm building, and I know what the price of building is. The prices are, it's $225, $250 all day long per square foot, and that's not with the lot. That's just the building. So I guess that's the only question I had.
Okay. The board members don't have any more questions? Okay. Close the public hearing. Now it's time for discussion by the board. Is there any further discussion by the Board of Trustees? Hearing none? Or, okay. Do I have a motion to approve or deny zoning case 2-21, a final development plan and PD modification for Yorkshire Reserve, Section 3, consisting of 44 lots and pursuant to the conditions noted in staff's memo? No motion? No motion?
Mike, or, I mean,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the plan.
Is there a second? As submitted?
As submitted.
So I have a motion to approve the plan as submitted and a second. Please call the roll. Oh, I thought you did. Oh. Apologies. Not trying to rush you. Take your time. It's a big decision for our residents.
I want to clarify specifically because before us is a plan that we've got we've got what they originally had 20 years ago with the 34, and I want to clarify they can move forward with this if we do nothing at this point. Is that correct? So if we would deny what they have put before us with all of these things and all the work that's gone on over the last 7 months, they could move forward with the other plan that was approved right now. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. With nothing from us?
Mm-hmm. But the county would dictate the drainage, et cetera.
The county would still have to go through all of these processes discussed. But they would not have to move forward with the proposal of the specific drainage with the green spaces and buffering and with the turn lane and some of the different things that have been discussed.
no, so the final development plan would still have to be approved by the zoning commission. It was approved previously as the preliminary plan. But the problem with this, or the situation here, is it's a modification of the original plan. That's why we're looking at it completely different. From a final development standpoint, in any other section, once it's approved preliminary, if there's no major changes, it goes on as is, basically. So why we're here and why we went through this whole process is because of that change with the lot sizes and the sizes of the homes and the setbacks. But yes, the other section would have been in compliance with the rest of the development and have the same, restrictions in terms of lot size and house size and everything going forward. So now we talked about they still have the issue of home size. So, thinking that they want to decrease the size of the homes in order to deal with current markets. So that could also be another issue with the 34 lot plan. Like if they still wanted to scale back on the size of the homes. So, but if it is in complete compliance, there's not really any issues there to discuss.
I apologize to audience and residents. I'm wanting to clarify some of these details because I know that if we would deny at this point that there are other plans that could go forward and we could lose a lot of work. So I look at a lot of our discussion that we've had tonight and we've had in the past. This has been a long, drawn-out process. I appreciate the builder and the developer and Mr. Schaefer going through these processes with us. I want us to be able to truly come to a compromise that's going to work and not us just say tonight through a denial, that we're not willing to work with anybody, if that's clear. I see the developer has gone through this process of addressing various concerns to the best of their ability. I'm not positive from what I'm hearing from Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Kress that any of the extra things brought on by Ms. Brzezinski tonight, if these are things that they believe can be addressed or changed. I guess that's kind of my final question before we would actually make a vote here. So with some of the things that she's addressed, are any of these things that she has discussed and requested, are they possible on your end? Are they things that we can explore, or do you believe that those things are not possible and that you've reached the point of compromise where you can? Mr. Schaefer or Mr. Kress, I don't know if you can address. I apologize.
And I would just say, I know we already closed the public hearing, but we can reopen it if need be. But I know the road question that you answered, just for your benefit, like we did evaluate that. They did look into that, and there was not a way to, one, the access would be too close to Yorkshire Reserve in order to add another road in right there. And then two, you wouldn't be able to really complete the whole development, and you still have the two scum streets. So, I know they did look at that in depth when we were going through the process, because that was brought up during the public hearing process. But the other issue, the wetlands, I've never heard of that, so that would have to be a question. But I think developers in general have to, they have to do their due diligence. And if they can't address it, or if they can't pay the fees associated with it, then, that's on the developers end. But like I said, I've never heard that there's a designated wetland there, but that's something we can look into.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the National Wetlands Inventory, USGS.gov.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Schaefer.
Okay. So your question is where are we in this whole thing and so on? And
I apologize, but thank you.
A number of the conditions that
it's okay. It's okay.
What I do put forth are those contingencies that we were talking about.
Yes.
So you have those in any zoning hearing. So Montgomery County is going to look at the traffic issue and determine whether or not this is going to work. And frankly, they'll make a decision whether or not they need a full-blown traffic study or whether they can rely upon the work that Richard did. They're going to review all that. They're going to be the ones that are going to approve the drainage.
Okay.
They're going to be the ones that would tell us whether or not you could put another exit out of the project onto Little York, which we took a look at when it was suggested. And the county people weren't at all excited about that. Now, it was preliminary, so it wasn't a formal request, but we didn't go that far because they indicated that you shouldn't bother. They just said it's just not going to work. It's too close to Yorkshire Drive. It's actually a safety issue, among other things, to be putting it that close to already a major in and out access point. So all of those different studies and so on are all going to filter through the county, and they may require that we take additional steps. They may require that we do additional studies. They may accept what's submitted. It's not a risk we take. It's just the way it works. And if they need more, we're going to have to give them more. It's that simple. So in that regard, there's not a whole lot to negotiate because that is what it is. It is what it is. The issue is the density issue. And so if we exited and decided, okay, we'll go to 42 lots and came back, you know, maybe that works and maybe it doesn't. I don't know. 34 lots we know is not going to work. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We're thinking that at 44 lots, the project is good, it's workable, it's better than the alternative by a long shot, and that's where we are, I think.
Mr. Grass, anything to add?
One comment. Number one, wetlands are not zoning issues. I respect from the trustees' point of view, but if it's a wetland, which I don't think it is.
It is. It's on the .gov website. It's
on the what?
On the wetlands.gov website.
Okay, so that's called an induced wetland.
No.
No, what means is it wasn't there. It's there because of the development of the way the dirt has been pushed. Okay, but that's something.
I'll take your word for it.
I'm sorry, our engineers didn't tell us this. And when we go through this, I mean, that's all part of the process. And
but does that change the drainage program or the drainage plan? Because
that will be part of
it'll be a big change.
If the county says you guys missed this, fix it, then absolutely it's going to be part
Then you have to.
How will the county know that it's a wetland if you don't?
I'm sorry?
How will the county know it's a wetland if you don't?
Because they inspect it. I mean, at each step of the way, our engineers have to certify. And, I mean, the issue is drainage.
And density.
Well, okay, but what the issue you're raising now is drainage. And, again, that's what, and I'm not trying to pass the buck here, but I'm saying we hire engineers to deal with this, and you've got the county as the supervisor that has to approve and sign off. We did the same thing with Richard Oakes on traffic. And when he says he's doing it by the standard, but ultimately Montgomery County gets to weigh in on this. Okay? We have tried to accommodate the requests of this community. But we know also, based upon what, you know, we've talked about construction costs for building materials, for houses. It's the same thing of building roads. And for us to do this project, we need 44 lots. And we believe this is a good project. We believe that we've checked every box. We believe we tried to protect the community by, as opposed to having a situation where a Drees only bought half the lots, and then we dribbed and drabbed them out. Okay, we have one largest builder in the country saying they'll buy all the lots. So to me, that's really protection for the township, because you know you have a deep pockets builder that is committed to everything.
To see it through.
I'm sorry?
To see it through.
Yes, sir.
Understand.
So, you know, we've worked through for 7 months, and I agree. The concept has been density, density, density. But whatever number we come up with, somebody always says, well, what about, can you do fewer?
Sure.
And we're trying to build a quality project, and we hope that you understand that. Thank you.
I'll make a comment, and then we can work to motion here. I just want to say, based upon everything that we heard tonight, obviously this has been a long process. I believe that based upon the plan that was proposed 20 years ago versus what we see now, if we would move to deny tonight, I believe that we would lose ground that we have worked towards over this time with the buffering and with the concerns of residents being addressed, things related to the turn signal, things related as well to you know, the drainage and all of these different concerns that have been brought on as a result of this dialogue that's been entered in over the last 7 months. Because of the concerns being addressed, and I think the processes that are in place through the county, and also what will take place in the coming months as you work through processes. I do believe that those protections will be in place, and those covenant restrictions as well will protect the residents from a situation that's going to harm their quality of life and the quality of their homes. So I second the motion brought on by Mr. Tyne for approval of the proposed plan.
I have a first and a second to approve as submitted.
Yes.
No. All right. Thank you, everyone, for all your time.
Thank you for entering into this.
Thank you.
All right, so next item on the agenda is public comments.
Good times.
You're welcome. Please state your name and address for the record, Mr. Oakes.
And Mr. Oakes, also just for the sake of time, please, for 5 minutes for your comments.
You've already taken more time than I hope to use.
Thank you.
Richard Oakes, 1397 Jackson Road. Eric, I didn't have time to call you today. Has the permit been signed or approved to do the
No, we are
transitional
still
work?
waiting on the
County?
TID's response to the engineer's comments.
To the county engineer's comments? Okay. Has there been any progress or thought given to contacting what I'll call the Furnace Road plat people to let them know what's going on per the transportation improvement, or the TID's, I'll call it conceptual master plan?
As far as extending it north, the proposed Douglas Way north of Old Springfield Road, I have reached out to the TID. They are not aware of any plans or engineering or any proposal or talk about an extension further north. It was in a master plan or conceptual plan, but there are no designs going forward, going north. And I indicated to them, well, we have a concern that if it is the way it's aligned now, it could impact properties on the west side of the road, and we just want to make sure there is a way to transition the road, if it is to go any further north. And the TID told me, well, I can assure you we are not aware of any plans of going north of Old Springfield. So, at this point...
I hear what you're saying, and I respect that. Then they shouldn't have put it on that drawing. The cautionary thing for the trustees and for the township is that is a section line. That fence line was my former east property line, and that runs all the way up to County Line Road and then comes out just on the west side of the woods near the township maintenance facility driveways. And if they continue building that on that section line, because it's public record that they've acquired a 50-foot easement to the east and to the west of that section line, and if they do continue that to the north, all you got to do is go out to the internet GIS, and there's at least 5 properties that will be impacted. And the simple solution would be to just change that alignment. Otherwise, if later on they decide to do it, then the 2 intersections are going to be offset the wrong way. Because the only way to avoid the houses is to move the roadway to the east, and then the left turns will hook. So in my previous life, if you will, I tried to point all this out, but it got no traction. To your earlier point, Missy, with regard to things up in that quadrant of the world. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Oakes.
All right, so administrator's recommendations is the next item. We are on item B, correct?
Yes.
Resolution number 22-23. Trustee Jackson?
Do we have any comments from Ms. Vogel?
Yeah, I will go through that. So Resolution 22-23, a resolution authorizing the police chief to accept the bids and purchase 4 unmarked police vehicles for the police department from Joe Caccioni's Chrysler Complex. The police department put this project out to bid because there were no Durangos on the state bid pricing, and they advertised as as required, and then also submitted the proposal to 8 dealerships and only received one quote, and this is the quote that they received. I know we discussed this in a previous workshop. The total cost for the 4 vehicles and the 5-year warranties on each vehicle is $164,360.
Excellent. I think it's money well spent. It's something we ought to do. I make a motion to approve resolution number 22-23, a resolution authorizing the police chief to accept the bid and purchase 4 unmarked police vehicles for the police department from Joe Kachani's Chrysler Complex. How'd I do?
I'll second.
All right, any other comments?
No.
All right, first and a second, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, item C, resolution number 22-24. Ms.
Okay.
Vogel?
Yes, Sign Dynamics has provided quotes for replacing the logos at our different facilities and our light pole signage along Dixie and Little York. And the total cost for the fire station, township meeting hall, government center, and those 12 lights is $18,151. And that will replace all of the sandblasted logos, also paint the signage to freshen them up, and trying to think what else. And then we will also have to add in some masonry costs to update, because we have some issues out here on this signage, and then some tile breaking on our signage at the government center. So we'll have to also contract with a mason for those portions. But signage related only, this would cover all of those locations. I know at our workshop we talked about the cloverleaf sign and the electronic message center sign. That is actually going to be more than $50,000 we expect. So we will probably have to put that project out to bid for the electronic message center.
Okay.
So.
All right. Do you have a motion?
Yeah, no comments, and I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 22-24, resolution entering into an agreement with Sign Dynamics for update logos on facility signs in the township.
I'll second.
Mike, do you have any, Mr. Tyne, do you have any comments or questions? Okay. All right, I have a first and a second. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, item D.
Resolution finding it necessary to increase appropriations for IT services for fiscal year 2022. Those are all listed in your resolution. It's for general fund, service department, police department, and fire department. Due to bringing in the new IT contractor and all of the upgrades and changes that we had to make at the beginning of the year, those costs were just a little bit higher than we had anticipated, not just our standard monthly service price. So if there's any questions on any of those, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is this 22-25 resolution?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jackson, do you have a motion?
I do, and no comments. Right. I will make a motion to approve resolution 22-25, a resolution finding it necessary to increase appropriations for IT services for fiscal year 2022.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Do you have any comments, Mr. Tyne? All right, please call the roll.
No. Yes. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm tired. Yes, it's good. Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes. All right. Item F, please, Ms. Vogel.
Okay, motion to make a donation to the Historical Society of Vandalia Butler in the amount of $2,000.
E. Item E.
We're
all
toast.
We're done.
Yeah, we're toast.
I know we've talked about doing a monetary donation, at the request of the need from the Historical Society, and we know how much the Historical Society does for the community. We were recently able to help them with some repairs they needed on the driveway, so they were very thankful for that. We sent them to Tipstone, and Tipstone graciously donated gravel, and then we were able to take care of the driveway. So that was taken care of, but this will also just supplement their losses during COVID, and then they had an issue with some flooding in their schoolhouse, so they've seen a big hit over the last couple of years. And this is, I think, this was the number we kind of talked about during the workshop, and unless there's any change or objection.
All right, do I have a motion?
Yes. I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Yes,
Do I have any comments? Okay.
This money well spent. I think it's a good thing for our
Absolutely.
community.
And Mr. Tuttle was very complimentary of Jeff. Jeff is a can-do guy in Mr. Tuttle's mind, and ours, of course.
Represented the township well.
Oh, he did. Good. Absolutely. Okay, please call the roll.
Yes.
yes.
Yes. All right, Ms. Vogel, item F.
Okay, a motion to set the public hearing for ZC 4-22, a rezoning at 4079 Little York Road from RCS 1 to PD 2 for a U-Haul moving and storage facility. The zoning commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the indoor storage facility only, no exterior storage units, and that occurred at their meeting on May 17th, 2022. We can, see, I was thinking we can either, I didn't put a date on here, we could either do the workshop on June 14th or we can do the regular meeting on the 28th. However you guys feel that works better, but I mean, we don't have anything really planned for the workshop, so we might as well just move forward with June 14th if there's no objection there.
Any objections?
No objection.
We indicate that's our preference.
Okay, so June 14th, 2022 at 6 p.m. will be the public hearing for 4079 Little York Road.
Okay, moving on to informal business.
Do we need to make a motion on that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
I make a motion to set the public hearing for ZC 4-22 for June, is that the 14th?
Yep.
6 p.m. A rezoning at 4079 Little York Road from RC-S-1 to PD-2 for a U-Haul moving and storage facility.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bryson. All right, please call the roll. Wait, no, we've had enough.
Yes.
We just had it.
Yes.
We just had discussion. Yes. All right, now moving on to informal business. I'm going to just keep hitting that wall until I get to Chief Porter. All right, do you have anything to share?
I just want to thank you for the authorization on the purchase, and just to remind everybody, holiday weekend coming up, so please be safe. It's an extended weekend. Consider the first weekend of summer, and we see a lot of activity on those weekends, so everyone please be safe and careful.
All right. Chief Alick, do you have anything for us this evening? And Mr. Burnett is absent. So, Ms. Vogel, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
All right. Fiscal Officer Brush.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. Trustee Bryson Jackson.
Yeah, I'll just say that, I thought that this was an interesting process with,
It has been.
yeah, it's been an interesting process. So I thought that the developer was a little rough at the beginning, and I see that they went through a lot of the hoops that we requested. So as we walk through this, that was probably the more difficult decision for us this year as we work through things as a board. But I think it's going to be good for our residents long term. So it was grateful with the ability for us to walk through these things with the residents and with the developer. So it's good.
Thank you, Mr. Tyne.
Yeah, well, and I echo off that, but the one thing on the U-Haul, when you see the renderings of this facility, that's very, I think it's very attractive. Yeah, so I think it'll be a good spot for it.
Okay. All right, I just want to thank everybody for their patience tonight in one last huge public hearing. So I have no further comments. Do we need a motion to pay the bills this evening?
Yes, please.
May I have one?
Make a motion to pay all of Butler Township's bills.
A second.
Please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn and get this meeting done.
At 8:17, do I have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Good job, Mr. Brush.